everybody. This is Jacqueline and Tina. You know me by now, I think. But this is Tina Hart, and Tina is with Coaching from the Heart.
Coaching with Hart, yes.
Oh, Coaching with Heart. Yes, that's a big distinction. So I said corrected. And she's gonna talk today about moving from the mind to the heart. Mm-hmm. And I am so honored that she's wrapping this up. Really, we're wrapping this up tonight. And I think with the rainbows and moving from the mind to the heart, this is just a wonderful way to complete. And I would just love it if you started it off with how you came to transform moving from the mind to the heart in your life.
Well, it all started with my daughter. She is a creative, intuitive, and she's dynamic, and she was, always, had a very strong will. But my husband and I had unwittingly, without knowing it, kind of joined into the kind of group think or the cultural idea around achievements. And so when she got to be about 7th grade, the achievement wasn't as easy peasy for her as it was before. And we were not kind about it. I mean, we really went way too hard on her. And when we realized what we were doing and that she was going to be ours way past when she was a student, and we knew that we valued the relationship over the achievement, we had to completely let that go. And so that was the beginning of the process for us.
So when you say you were hard, like what would be a definition for some of those parents? What do you consider you were hard with her on her scholastic achievements?
Well, my husband and I are both very intense. And so if we're having fun, that's great. But if we're both wanting to call you on your behavior, it's not. And so we were like, I remember one time, this is one of her biggest resentments against me and my parenting life with her, is that she lied to me about failing a test or something, and I didn't let her go to the Valentine dance. Not, because it was the principal thing, because you lied to me, Well, she lied to me because I was so hard on her. She knew I was going to give her a 5-minute, now, what do you think's going on? And what can we do? How can we support you? But we were just way, way too intense and in her business. We weren't honoring her agency like she needed us to.
So realistically, you were putting some of your values onto what you thought was best for her. And when you started to tap in and tune into what she needed, you started to back off and the transformation began.
Yes.
So what was
and I think part of it was, I was raised poor. And I was the first one in my family to go to college. And so all that achievement stuff had worked for me in terms of giving me a gentler life, maybe is a way of putting it, from when I was raised. And so I just had assumed that achievement was the way to go, So, and then I had this whole culture, this kind of suburban lifestyle culture around me that was supporting it. Oh yeah, you don't want him to get behind. Oh, the forbidden behind, and I didn't know what it meant for sure, but I knew I didn't want that, So I just thought pressure was the way to go. And it wasn't helpful.
So how did you unlearn moving from being, pressure oriented and you really wanted the best for her than what you knew to do, but now you had to unlearn how you were being to support her. So what was the first step?
Well, to be completely honest, the first step was for me to let my husband lead on the parenting and for me to be very quiet and step back, because he's much more kind of a steady Eddie kind of guy. And he thinks before he speaks, and he's careful with his words. And I'm kind of like, wow, So, so we really had to partner with each other and do a lot of tag team parenting to help me learn to quiet down And I started going into my closet. I have a small walk-in closet. It's not a large one. And I had a large sitting pillow in there. Mm-hmm. And I would go in there and just surrender. Mm. And ask, the divine intelligence to change me and to turn me into the mother that she needed, not the mother I thought she should have. Or, and it unfolded. I made a lot of mistakes, and she was very forgiving and resilient. But we ended up letting go of her achievement so much that the second semester of her junior year and her whole senior year, she was on the honor roll, and we didn't know it till after she graduated because we never looked at grades or anything. Yeah, so we really shifted our focus off of the achievement and onto the learning. And and no matter what happened, we just said, "Well, did you learn anything? Was it useful to you?" And that's when she really blossomed. And I mean, she loves learning, mm-hmm. and she's an engaged learner. And I don't think she would have been if we'd have stayed on the path we were at.
Well, we're going to say, of course she wouldn't, because that's the transformation that went on. So it would ruin the story if it went the other way. But so from your own personal experience then of having to shift, now you're actually helping other parents back off and let their kids flourish. Is that correct?
Yes, I've developed this kind of 5-process parenting model, and I've been playing with the name today because it hasn't had a name. I'm going to be teaching it this fall, but I think I'm going to call it contemplative parenting. And so, with the idea that if we approach our parenting with deep thoughtfulness, mm-hmm. and a heart-centeredness, that we can't go wrong.
Well, from my perspective, if every parent followed their inner guidance, right? Because every family is different. So mm-hmm. what works for your family might not work for my family, et cetera. But when you're following that inner guidance, you're going to know what's true for you.
That's right.
Right? So if you can coach people to trust themselves to make the best choices for their family.
Exactly.
That's a huge shift in what's going on in the Western world for parenting.
Yes, and it's a huge blessing to see those transformations, because I just had a woman today who called for a free consult, and I just told her, you have, the way I work is that you have to change. You have to do the work on you first, and then we'll deal with your child. And she was really kind of hard hitting and had a lot of opinions. And she was like, "Okay, I'll do it." And I was like, "Okay." So I mean, people want to do it even though it's not easy. And people are drawn to it. And I think that's the evolution of the world that we're in.
Yeah. It's a big wake-up call that what has been going on for whether years, centuries, that model's falling apart, right?
Yeah.
And I like the fact what Einstein says is you can't use the same brain to figure, they created the problems to solve the problems, right? You have to be open to a new way of being. And that is essentially like moving from this to thinking this can figure it out to trusting this, I call it the divine connection, right? Whatever you want to call it. Like that connection that we all have, that gut feel, if you like it better, but that guides you to the best choices for you.
Yes.
So contemplative parenting, how does that relate to helicopter parenting?
Well, if you are hovering, which, that the word helicopter parenting came from the old Love and Logic people 20 years ago. They coined the term, and it's been, changed and bastardized throughout time. But what it really means is to hover. And when you're hovering, you're not honoring your child's agency. And so in contemplative parenting, you start there. I mean, that's the first step in the 5 steps, is you honor your child's sense of agency, that they have a power within them that leads them to self-determination. And if you believe that, then you will get the courage you need to make the other changes. The hovering parents, the reason they do it is because they're acting out of their fear instead of their love.
Well, I think this is what the turning point is, because like when I was talking with Renette about the structure of health, we were saying you either choose to believe that healing is natural and you put your energy into that, or you choose to believe you're avoiding disease and you put it that way. So you're choosing either the same thing. You're either choosing love or you're choosing the fear, right?
Right.
Right? This is so amazing how everything is dramatically shifting, but all linked together. So now agency, because I can hear someone saying, well, what does that really mean? And what age do I allow my child to be that I'm respecting their agency?
Well, I mean, as a mother who did extended breastfeeding, I believe from birth. I mean, there are 2 different parents from the beginning, right? There's one who puts them on a schedule and decides when it's time for them to sleep through the night. And then there's the other type of mother who believes in nurturing and connection parenting, and that they'll figure it out. They'll automatically, put themselves on a schedule, and that they will sleep through the night when they're ready, when their body is organized for that. So, I mean, everybody has, there's some people who have different opinions than that. I'm probably on the, more extreme end of believing that you're born with it. Some people think that it doesn't come until 2nd or 3rd grade, around age 8, when you have more abstracting abilities. Mm-hmm. But I think that the risk you run if you don't believe in it from birth is that you might lose sight of it for the rest of their life. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I mean, kids are born the way they are. I mean, kids are either complex and intense and, a handful, or they're going to be like super easy peasy. And so much of it doesn't have anything to do with us. Right. So if we can meet them where they're at and accept them where they're at, they'll be able to blossom into it instead of fight against it in themselves, I think.
So do you generally work like with one parent that comes to see you, or is it like a 2-parent thing, like you and your husband were together on this, or are you just like the special exception to the rule because you guys are so stellar that you did it together and everybody else is still one at a time coming to they really want change with their kid, but you're teaching them that they've got to learn how to change themselves first?
In almost all cases, one parent is dragging the other. Okay. So, I mean, on a very rare occasion, I'll get 2 people who will call me for the free consultation together. Right. And I'm like, whoa, this is nice, a lot of times in the area that I live in, there's a lot of stay-at-home moms who take on the hovering role. And they meet me not because they want enlightenment or transformation, but because they want me to either convince their husband that they need to control the kids as much as they are, or they need me to teach them how to control their kids so their kids will do what they want them to do. And so this is quite a surprise for some of them when they meet me, because it goes in a different direction than they were thinking.
Right.
So the nice thing about that is that people who aren't interested in that, they figure out very quickly that they need a different coach. Right. And those who are have like a void. They're like, okay, so I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to work on myself, but how? Right. And that's why I wrote this contemplative parenting class, because the how is the hard part. Mm-hmm. It used to be that we were taught how at the quilting bee, or in the village, when great grandma and grandma and mom would all tell us, everybody feels that way when they're 30. Everybody, and we're losing those organic connections and those lines of wisdom that teach us what is the next step. Because everything I do is very developmentally based, both in childhood and in adulthood. And so if we can just see what's normal, then we don't have to pathologize it.
And by normal, really kind of saying natural food type.
I'm sorry?
So I was saying, yeah, we got a new echo here. When you say what's normal, that's like what's natural for each particular child. Is that what you mean by normal?
What I mean is the natural, predictable pattern that you'll see across all of humanity, regardless of what culture we're in. You know, I mean, kids smile, you know, at you know, so many hours old, and they go potty by themselves at a certain age, and it's just a very predictable pattern of human behavior. It goes across culture.
Did you ever read the continuum concept?
I haven't. Is it a good one?
Oh, yeah, that's basically that their agency starts when they're born, and you just more or less let the child lead you, in that sense that, I mean, you put a little restriction, you don't just let them walk out in the middle of the road, but that's the idea that they really have this intuitive ability to live their life, and as long as we respect that, we see them grow up in their essence of who they really came to be and who they really are. So yeah, go check that out. It was written.
And it's continuum concept.
The continuum concept, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so what happens is if you're the type of person who doesn't have a strong image of who you want your child to be, that would be a very natural move. But if you're somebody who has a very strong sense of right and wrong, or of who you think your kid needs to be in order to be happy or successful, then it's going to require grieving that image in order to accept the unfolding.
Yes. And I think that's what a lot of parents need to do, is let go of their expectations, right? And free their children up to be what they are designed to be.
Yes, and these children today, I mean, the millennials are reinventing themselves so rapidly that it doesn't even look like anything we could have imagined.
I think it's an exciting time. I think these kids just so intuitively know that the world is so much greater than anything that they've ever been told by their parents. And they're operating on the latest software upgrade, and they're in the cloud, and a lot of us are still working on the desktop.
Right, exactly. They're going to bring us along, I think.
Yes. So who would be your ideal client?
My ideal client would be a almost middle-aged woman who was in a blind panic because she felt like she wasn't doing it perfectly, and who was open to trying to do it spiritually.
That is a very clear picture.
Yeah, those are the women I fall in love with instantaneously.
And I'm sure you have a wonderful transformative journey with them.
Yes, yeah, and sometimes it happens quick. I mean, I had a woman who I just did a free consultation with, and she sent me an email the next day, and she said, "We see our daughter with new eyes." What more can you ask for?
No, you're just creating those openings and those shifts. Yeah. So now this course is going to be ready in September.
I'll launch it for the second or third week in September. I haven't decided yet. Okay. And I'll do it online. So, anybody from anywhere can join. Then I think I'm going to teach it in 4 sessions.
Okay. And
then after that, I'll open up for anybody who wants to continue in in a professional support group for moms and dads.
Yeah, whoever, yeah, because I'm sure there are the odd dad that is going to lead the charge.
I hope so. That would mix it up a bit.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, and where can they get a hold of you?
They can reach me through my website at www.coachingwith.hart.com.
And what would you say in sending people off is the greatest gift that they give themselves when they lead with their heart?
That they are comfortable in their own skin.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody just take that in, because that's a big one. Just to be comfortable in your own skin.
Yeah.
Did it take you a lot of days in the closet?
Yeah. I mean, I think that the transformation started way before that. You know, my grandmother was a healer and a hands-on healer in the area that I was raised in. So I was exposed to healing very, very young. I mean, I remember people coming to the house, people I didn't know. You know,
Right.
I was raised on a small farm, and so I think that came very, very early. You know, and she told me, "You will be a healer. It's coming to you." And that was quite frightening to me at the time. I didn't know what that meant. And I was like, oh, gosh, I don't think so. You know? So I think it's taken me, 50 years to grow into it. But I'm comfortable in my own skin with it. And I mean, I know who I am, and I know what I can offer, and I know what my limitations are. And I think that's, if you offer who you are and what your limits are, then you're not going to do harm.
No, and it's also the very perfect time for you, because your kids are really branching out now, stepping out both out of the house.
Yes. I'm opening up to teach this course to satisfy some mothering needs, I think, because I'll have an empty nest.
Yeah, but I could also be where my story is that when we've done our mothering, then we actually get to step out and really shine our light, because we are free to do so. We've all that energy that we dedicated towards helping, get those little kids out of the nest, so to speak, can now be there to support the greater community. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to watching that unfold.
Well, I think this particular event is just one of the things that's going on as each of us are doing our own healing. And I see more of these co-creative ventures happening all over the place as we create this great, huge sisterhood. And men, we love you too. You were in part of it. But the women connecting with women is something really new that we really are loving and appreciating each other and honoring each other for who we are and the gifts that we can bring to the planet in healing from the inside out. So I have been thrilled to be here with all you guys. And I really could just keep going at this particular point in time. So if anybody wants to start all over again.
I want to see you get some rest, my friend.
I'll probably sign off and I'll be like, okay. No. So I really appreciate that you're closing this out, Tina. And I feel that just your last name, okay? It's like we said, okay? It's Hart. I never got the trailer because the trailer was on the clip of the computer there. But when we were saying, she lives up to her name, everybody. She lives from the heart. So she might have had some opportunity before to go through, but that's really, as we know, our mess turns out to be our message and really the gift that we have. So if she hadn't have had the experience she had with her own daughter, that just gave birth to how she's able to help you all with Hart. Mm-hmm. And
Thank you, my dear. Are you going to do a final blessing on the party?
I have final blessing. I'm feeling that. I don't know how to wrap up. I don't know how to wrap up a party. I guess I could do a single blessing, but we could just, okay, let's just all just take in a deep breath here. Okay. And get present to a really happy thought. Like those rainbows that I saw. I just felt like, wow, that was a gift. So I'm just right there with the vibrancy of those rainbows. So let's just take in whatever happy thought and just feel that this beautiful rainbow that I saw, that you can imagine that it is just actually each of those vibrancies and colors are just streaming down from the sky straight into every one of your bodies. This is a multicolor, multidimensional experience. It's just working through every aspect of your energy field, all throughout, cleaning out the old and rejuvenating and revibrating in you to a whole new place of being. We have done phenomenally well here. Every single person has been such a great contribution, and the ripple effects that are going on are infinite. So I am very, very humbled to have been a part of this, as each and every one of you has made a huge contribution to healing from the inside out. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Continue celebrating our gifts, our passions, and our purpose. Thank you.
Right on.
I
Congratulations.
love you.
I love you. Congratulations, my friend.
All right, it's a wrap, everybody. Until the next time. So there you go. Bye-bye.
Bye.